The drama surrounding this featherweight clash was impossible to ignore. On a charged night in Liverpool, inside a packed arena buzzing with anticipation, two relentless fighters stepped into the ring knowing that something special, perhaps even unforgettable, was about to unfold. On one side stood Britain's undefeated champion, the fearless and aggressive Nick Ball. On the other stood the tall, battle-hardened American challenger, Brandon Figueroa, a former two-weight world champion known for his incredible work rate and iron will. Before a single punch was thrown, the tension in the arena was thick. The referee gathered both fighters in the center of the ring, delivering the familiar final instructions. Keep the punches clean. Protect yourselves at all times. Then came the moment that always electrifies a boxing crowd. The fighters touched gloves. In that brief gesture, respect was shown, but everyone in the building knew that respect would soon give way to violence. The atmosphere along the banks of the River Mersey was electric. Liverpool crowds have always been passionate about boxing, and they had come out in full force to support their champion. Chants echoed throughout the arena, a wall of sound pushing Nick Ball forward before the opening bell even rang. Across from him stood Figueroa, calm and focused, soaking in the hostile environment, but never once looking intimidated. As the bell rang to begin the fight, both men approached cautiously at first, measuring distance and testing reactions. But it didn't take long for the real nature of this contest to reveal itself. These were not fighters who liked to wait. Both had built their reputations on aggression, pressure, and constant action. Within moments, they were trading punches in the center of the ring. Early in the opening round, Ball made his intentions clear. Though significantly shorter than his opponent, he refused to fight timidly. Instead, he used his compact frame, almost like a weapon, with a low center of gravity and explosive footwork. He darted inside the taller Figueroa's reach. Suddenly, he unleashed a beautiful uppercut that snapped the American's head back. The crowd roared instantly. It was the kind of punch that told everyone watching that the champion meant business. Ball's strategy was obvious: get inside, stay low, and attack quickly before Figueroa could establish his range. The British fighter had turned his size disadvantage into a tactical advantage. By crouching low and bursting forward with speed, he forced the taller challenger to constantly adjust. Figueroa, however, was no stranger to high-pressure fights. Known as the Heartbreaker, he had earned his reputation through relentless work rate and endless stamina. The Texan began firing back with long punches, using his reach to try to keep Ball at bay. Blood soon appeared around the bridge of his nose, a sign that the champion's sharp shots were finding their mark early. Even in those first few rounds, the fight had already begun to feel like a war. Ball's uppercut quickly became the story of the opening stages. Again and again, he slipped under Figueroa's punches and drove the shot upward to the guard. It was a punch they had clearly drilled in training camp, and it was landing with frightening consistency. Every time the American leaned forward, he risked walking directly into it. Still, Figueroa refused to be discouraged. He kept pressing forward, throwing punches in bunches. His style has always been about volume, overwhelming opponents with sheer activity. Even when his punches weren't landing cleanly, he was constantly working, constantly pushing the pace. By the end of the early rounds, observers were already debating what mattered more: Ball's sharp, accurate punches or Figueroa's relentless output. Ball seemed to have the edge in precision. His punches were crisp and powerful, each one thrown with purpose. Meanwhile, Figueroa's strategy was built on numbers. He threw more, worked the body, and tried to slowly wear the champion down. As the rounds progressed, the intensity only increased. Figueroa began finding success with body shots, digging his punches into Ball's ribs and midsection whenever the opportunity appeared. Those punches might not excite a crowd the way a head-snapping uppercut does, but they can drain a fighter's energy over time. And slowly, the American challenger began to grow into the fight. The commentary team noted the subtle shift. In the early rounds, Ball had looked explosive and sharp. But now, Figueroa's pressure was starting to show its effect. The American moved forward with increasing confidence, forcing the champion toward the ropes and letting his hands go. Yet, every time it seemed like momentum might fully swing toward Figueroa, Ball answered back with something spectacular. A sudden right hand, a snapping jab, another brutal uppercut that sent sweat spraying into the air. The fight had turned into a fascinating clash of styles. Ball represented quality, explosive bursts, clean punches, and clever angles. Figueroa represented quantity, constant pressure, endless punches, and a refusal to take a backward step. By the middle rounds, the pace was so high that it felt as though the fighters had already completed 10 rounds instead of 5. Sweat poured from both men. Ball's nose began bleeding. His mouth hung open as he tried to pull in air between exchanges. Yet he kept firing back, refusing to give ground. Meanwhile, Figueroa's engine seemed endless. This was exactly the type of fight he loved, a war of attrition where stamina and toughness would decide the outcome. Each round grew harder to score. Judges were faced with a difficult question. Should they reward the cleaner punches of Ball or the relentless activity of Figueroa? The crowd sensed the tension building. Every exchange drew louder reactions. Each time Ball landed a sharp counter, the Liverpool faithful erupted. But when Figueroa pinned the champion against the ropes and unleashed a flurry, the American corner cheered just as loudly. Neither fighter was willing to back down. By the championship rounds, the fight had evolved into something deeper than a technical contest. It had become a battle of wills. Figueroa, following instructions from his experienced corner, pushed forward with renewed urgency. He knew he might be behind on the scorecards, and the only way to change the outcome was to increase the pressure even further. Ball, meanwhile, relied on his speed and timing. Even as fatigue set in, he continued to land sharp counters. His right hand and jab snapped repeatedly into Figueroa's face, but the American simply kept coming. It was the kind of fight that reminds fans why boxing can be so captivating. Two elite fighters, each refusing to surrender, each determined to impose his will. As the final round approached, the tension inside the arena became almost unbearable. Ball's face showed signs of damage. Blood trickled from his nose. His breathing was heavy, yet he still managed to produce flashes of brilliance, a perfectly timed counter, a quick combination, a clever step to the side. Figueroa, however, looked stronger as the fight went deeper. His punches kept coming, round after round, wave after wave. Even if they weren't always landing cleanly, they forced Ball to stay constantly alert. Then came the dramatic final round. Everyone in the arena understood the stakes. This was the moment that could decide everything. Figueroa surged forward with urgency, throwing punches with renewed aggression. Ball tried to respond with counters, but the American pressure was relentless. Suddenly, in a shocking moment that silenced the Liverpool crowd, Ball went down. The champion struggled to rise, showing the heart that had carried him through so many battles before. The referee watched closely as Ball fought his way back to his feet. But the damage had been done, and Figueroa sensed his moment. The American unleashed everything he had left. The crowd roared in disbelief as the challenger pushed the champion back through the ropes. The referee stepped in, and just like that, the fight was over. In one stunning moment, the undefeated champion had fallen. Against the odds in hostile territory, Brandon Figueroa had done the unthinkable. He had stopped Nick Ball in the final round and reclaimed the world featherweight title. For a moment, the arena was frozen in shock. Then the reality set in. Figueroa celebrated with his team, while Ball received medical attention after the brutal ending. It was a heartbreaking moment for the Liverpool crowd, but also a reminder of how unpredictable and dramatic boxing can be. This was not just another fight. It was a battle defined by courage, resilience, and relentless determination from both men. And in the end, it was Brandon Figueroa who walked away with the victory, a stunning comeback performance that will be remembered for years. Moments like this are why fans love boxing. The drama, the unpredictability, the courage shown by fighters who refuse to quit even when everything is on the line. But what do you think about this incredible fight? Did Nick Ball deserve a rematch after such a brutal ending? Or did Brandon Figueroa prove he is the true king of the featherweight division now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of one of the most thrilling fights of the year, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more boxing stories and legendary battles.